Hello everybody, welcome back. It is Tuesday, April 14th. We are going to get started with our college reading and writing agenda for today. First of all, I hope you all had a great Easter. We stayed inside most of the day. The weather was terrible, but the last couple of days have been nice. My kiddos have been outside and that has been awesome for all of us. We do have word work today. We are going to discuss the article that you were to have read and had an assignment that was due yesterday on Monday using the 8 components of a SMART literary analysis article. And then finally, you do have an assignment today to watch a YouTube video. It's pretty short, and then to complete a reflection on that. So I'll talk about that. All right, our word review for today is we need to review idiosyncratic. Go ahead and say that word, idiosyncratic. And remember, it's an adjective that describes kind of a quirky characteristic of somebody. So keep that in mind. Please remember to set up your word work group 4 folder or page in OneNote. I think for the most part when I checked, there were only 1 or 2 missing. So make sure you have that set up and that you are working through those sentences. All right, today's word is idyllic. Idyllic. It is an adjective. Make sure you go ahead and say that. Idyllic. It's an adjective describing something that is tranquil or carefree. So my example sentence says, from the deck of the cabin, I had an idyllic view of the beautiful lake and the thriving, peaceful forest surrounding it. Okay, so make sure you get those notes in your OneNote and you update with your own sentence as well. All right, so here is our discussion on the assignment that was due for today. This article really breaks down what a SMART literary analysis is. I've used it several years in a row now, and I think it gives us a good idea of where we need to go, or a good starting point. So I'm going to answer a few questions during this discussion that you should have answered while you were working through the assignment in Schoology. So first of all, what does a SMART literary analysis focus on? When we do a literary analysis, we are looking at the how, for how the author uses parts of the story to create meaning or a theme. We might also look at how we can critique what the author did with the story. So again, we're looking on the how with the SMART literary analysis. It is not a summary because we're not just focusing on the what the author said, but how the author created that story. Okay, there were 2 phases that were mentioned in the article. The first one is the investigation process, or your reading process. As you read your literary analysis book, you're going to look at how did the author create this story? How did the author make the characters do this? How did the author create this theme of survival? The second phase then is the writing process. So you have the reading and note-taking, investigating process as the first step, or the first phase, and then the second phase is your actual writing. Once again, we are looking at the difference between an assertion and an argument. We are focusing on an argument, just like we were in our essay number 1. So an assertion is kind of, I have this idea about this, I think it might be true. The argument is where you back it up with your facts. So keep in mind, with this literary analysis, once again, we will be having an argument or a claim that is based off of evidence from the book that you read. All right, so what were those 8 components of a SMART literary analysis? It begins with your looking at how did the author focus on plot, the characters, the setting. Then you look at those literary devices, such as how did the author use metaphors or an analogy to something else, or maybe symbolism in their book. The third component is that you're going to take that critical approach, the how did the author do this approach. The fourth component is that you do need to look at the 5 W's. So you will look at who was involved, what was happening, where did it take place, when did it take place, why did something happen, and then of course that'll bring us to the how the author created all those elements. The fifth component is that you'll decide on your arguments depending upon your prompt, and we'll get into that all in the next week or so. The sixth component is that you will use MLA formatting in your writing. Seventh is that you will use an academic voice in your writing. I'll talk about some examples of what that means in a minute. And then the eighth component is that you organize your essay to sell your arguments. So by the end of your essay, we want to believe that whatever case you've put together about how the author wrote this book is believable. We're with you on it. You've sold your argument. You've given us evidence. We've connected with you as a writer, and we believe you. Okay, so what the heck is academic voice? When we use our academic voice in writing, we're going to sound confident in our argument without being cocky. We're going to be logical in our argument using evidence without being biased one way or another. You're going to be critical, trying to answer the how the author did something, but you're also going to be fair to that author. You're going to pay attention to what the time period was like, what their background might have been, what their education might have been. And finally, you're going to be concise. We really need to work on getting rid of the extra verbiage or the extra words like things, stuff, actually, just, that we can narrow down and fine tune so that your writing is really clear and concise. Hopefully that was something that you learned as you went through your essay number 1, as I was crossing off words and suggesting how to not be so wordy at times. Okay, for this essay, we do write in third person, exactly same as our essay number 1. So we will not be using words like I, we, our, your, yours, yourself, and so on. We will be using words like he, she, one, they, their, and we can always replace the one pronoun or the one idea with an actual noun like the student, the writer, the author, the character. So keep that in mind as we go through. And that brings us to the end today. You do have this YouTube video. It is an introduction. It's short. It's about 4 minutes. An introduction on the literary analysis. When you're done with that, I want you to jot down in Schoology. There's a reflection set up in Schoology. And I want you to jot down 3 of the most important things you learned from that short video. So I recommend taking notes during the video on at least 3 things that you learned. And then at this point, I want you to ask 2 questions that you currently have about the literary analysis. I have not given you too much information on it, so I'm guessing you have a lot of questions, and I will use those to kind of guide how I move forward. So please ask some good questions, whatever you might have when it comes to the literary analysis on that assignment. And it is due today, Tuesday, April 14th, by 11:59 p.m. All right, you guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully someday soon. Take care of yourselves. Remember, we do have office hours Mondays and Wednesdays. Period 1, you're at 9. Period 6, you're at 10 o'clock. So you can drop in there if you've got questions, and I'd be happy to hear from you. All right, everybody, take care.